Welcome back, gang. Last week we had Griffin Barber Part 2. So this week we're going to finish it off with Part 3. Get ready for the ride, because previously on Worlds Asunder.
Tear the rest of my hair out from my eyebrows and just go full mental on everybody and kill, murder, maim.
Only took 6 months, but Dr. Griffin Barber figured out that I'm the sociopath on the panel.
Excuse me while I roll my eyes.
Yes. Well, I can hear them. I can hear them eyes rolling.
As storytellers, we want to capture the hearts, minds, and imaginations of our readers, mainly through our expertly crafted worlds.
Creating new worlds in any genre might seem like a daunting task, but you don't have to reinvent the wheel for every story.
Welcome, weary writers, to Worlds Asunder, a world-building and writer's life podcast.
My co-host is David Shadoin, better known as Shady. It's not just a descriptor, it's also his moniker.
And she's H.Y. Grigger, or you can call her Haley, your friendly post-apocalyptic wasteland elf.
Together, we've got enough published to fill a small shelf, but why should you listen to us? Because we called in some favors.
Every other week, we bring you the best and brightest to give you the tips and tricks on world building and character building like the pros. So, open up your ear holes.
Get out your pen and paper.
And get ready for us to tear Worlds Asunder. I know. I'm sad it's almost over too. But now it's time for Please Read the Phone Book Part 3 for the finale of our interview with Griffin Barber.
I think that's an interesting study of scale, too, because losing a close family member is completely different than reading about a bunch of other people, hundreds or thousands. It's the Joseph Stalin, I don't know if this is an actual quote or a misquote, but it's a single death is a tragedy, but 1,000 is a statistic.
Yeah.
And I think that is actually really interesting the way that you did that, because it's true, understanding that the magnitude of something as big as Earth is just gone is so huge that it's almost incomprehensible.
Right. And again, the only way to move past that is to acknowledge that, yeah, it happened, and we're going to now live in the current now, because we're not going to be able to go back and, fix it. And that's one of those things that also is, sometimes you just can't fix some things. You just have to move on, right? After you've survived it. So again, it's anything that is ultimately scalable for me is stuff you want to contemplate, at least having under the hood, and maybe putting it in front of the players, the characters. One of my favorite lines, I think it was, what was his name? He said, all the world's a stage, but it's just the problem is that a bunch of people are shit players. And that, for me, that's like, whoa, that's cool. And that's a really cool concept and works into your fiction, right? Because all the world's a stage. I have this whole world. Now it's time to populate it with the shit players. And even if they think they're doing the right thing, and, even if your main character's, good at what they're doing and trying to do the best they can, they may still be a shit player in other arenas. They probably should be, because that makes them human and makes the reader want to identify with them or be able to identify with them.
Well, it's funny because what you've said, the maybe the past 10 minutes of what you've been talking about was a little bit of what we touched on maybe about halfway through when we were talking about messages of hope or resilience. Mm-hmm. And the resilience piece, right? Sometimes people have a hard time defining what resilience actually means. Yeah. But that ability to move on, not just to survive. Surviving is a form of resilience. But resilience in and of itself is
the predicate. It's the predicate for.
Yes. Yeah. And that's, to me, that's kind of what divides dark fantasy from your grim dark character is that ability to move on, because grimdark's not going to be able to move on a lot, and they're just going to keep getting worse. But
or they're just continuing to explore that. I mean, there is a lot of ground to cover regardless. One of the guys that I love the best for grim dark stuff is Mark Lawrence. He's a British American fantasy writer. Amazing stuff. Prince of Thorns was one of his series. He did an amazing job of lightening the tone of those by doing the Prince of Fools afterwards, which is another series that is actually George MacDonald Fraser, Flashman, and of his own characters. Like the start of Prince of Thorns is all dark and it's like, I do this because I am and the Prince of Fools is like, I like to hit people from behind because it's easier to overcome them that way. It's a wonderful like exploration of both of these characters are equally dark, but one is like, I'm dark because I just want to survive. And the other one is dark because he doesn't know any other way to be. And it's really cool. But he's a magnificent, and it's also first person, which a lot of readers are like, ooh, I'm in this nasty, creepy person's first person head. And that's one of the things about Second Chance Angel as well that we did was, it's alternating first person points of view. And then we had third person points of view, and the third person points of view slowly goes into first person point of view because as you add sentience, you add you add ego, you add me. So that's, again, world building. It should inform everything you do, especially if you're dealing with aliens or elves or other species. You better be thinking about this stuff. And that's one of the ways to differentiate yourself from everybody else is my elves are, their garlic is their bane, whatever it may be, something that you can explain why it is that they're like that and why it is that it's different. It's subtly different. And it may not be right in the front, but it makes the reader go, oh, I'm smart. I'm clever because I figured out that that's why they did this. Because you're showing me all of those aspects of your world building without telling me yada, 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 garlic because mama made nasty pasta one time, whatever it may be. If that makes sense. I kind of lost the plot there a little bit, I think.
I'm just gonna keep the full thing in and pretend like it made complete 100% sense and it was meant to be.
So one of the things was again going back to Second Chance Angel, we have the plant gal, and that was everything else was almost both of us doing it, but that was me. Like I was just like, okay, how would a plant communicate? And I was thinking about smell and pheromones, and plants have a distinct smell to us, that kind of thing. And so you have this device that is translating all these pheromones that are shaken off of them. And then why is it that they're a complete and utter pacifist and they're a criminal and that kind of thing. So there's a lot of fun to be had with exploring that. And, oh, by the way, I've got roots and, where do my roots go? How am I doing this? All these things. So it's a lot of fun, especially when, hey, why so serious? We're doing science fiction. We're doing fantasy. Let's have fun with that. And that was one of the things, you go back in fantasy, you go to Tolkien. I know Tolkien was laughing his ass off when he made the Ents. Because these dudes are, and the hobbits, because the hobbits are smoking dope and, and drinking and hanging out at the pub. They're having this idyllic life. And here comes these buttheads trying to mess our lives up. We're going to go mess with them. And we're going to take this nasty old ring and throw it in Mount Doom. But yeah, and the same thing with the treants. Now, oh, by the way, you're drinking our stuff. Now you're going to get bigger and stronger. And we talk about everything really slow. Right. And they're communicating. I mean, all of that. I know he had a lot of fun doing it because I also know that, he told these stories to his kids as like bedtime stories. And then he'd go like, oh, that was pretty fun. I made the kids laugh and I'll write that in. So yeah. And again, goes back to humor, which is part of the human experience.
Yeah. And speaking of Tolkien, part of that was a little bit of gallows humor, right? Because he wrote some of that while he was sitting in a foxhole in World War II. So it's
World War I.
Or yep. World War I, sorry. World War I.
Trench as well.
Yep, trench.
Yep.
But That's the thing, is that like even the author themselves has to have a little bit of resilience for the things that they're doing. You know, they have to be able to move on, to be able to write into that thing. But no, the like Tom Bombadil, right? Like you gotta imagine he was just like, what is the dopiest person I've ever met? Cool. Yeah. Can I make him like the most powerful person in the known universe? Let's do this.
Yeah. And that, you know, it's remarkable how, you know, people can tend to focus on some of the serious stuff about his writing when he had a lot of fun, because that was part and parcel of the world, right? It's part of our world, and why would you not explore that in your fiction?
For sure.
When I was at Author Nation a couple of weeks ago, I guess it was longer, back in November, I was sort of listening in on, sitting, you know, kind of on the sidelines of this conversation. There were a bunch of fantasy authors, mostly writing progression fantasy and lit RPG, that were raging a little bit about how cozy genre things are so popular right now. Things that are like the slice of life type, slower moving plots, smaller stakes kind of thing. And the end of it, they were like, fine, we're all writing a cozy novel in 2025. Screw you. Like, this is what I'm doing next. But I think that like, that's almost where you see the most world building and those kinds of things. Like Tolkien is a great example of that. He has all of these epic stakes, but you've also got like all of these tiny little things that are what like makes people really feel like they can relate to the characters or want to go to the setting. Maybe I need to start writing slice of life things.
Well, and that's it should be, there should be some part in there anyway, right? In most things, because most military science fiction, we always get not necessarily a training montage, but we get something about their training in the first book, because that is the slice of their life that sets the tone for now things are going to get shitty or they're going to get hard. And, oh, wow, I'm really glad that this sergeant was such a hard ass on me when I was going through training, because I learned those skills completely, like instinctively now. And now when I have to do something by the book, I can do it by the book. And that's, yeah, you're totally on point with that, with Haley, with Lord of the Rings, or actually even better is The Hobbit, because I'm sitting here minding my own business, having my own awesome Hobbit life, being the rich, you know, squire in the neighborhood. And in comes this damn wizard knocking on my door, disrupting my Sunday afternoon. And then a couple of months later, now I've got all these dwarves showing up on my, you know, and my reputation's going to be destroyed because I'm a, you know, stand up. What will the Longbottoms think or whatever? You know, it's really, it sets the stage for the separation. Here's the stakes, and our regular nice lives are the stakes, right? I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, and it's a brilliant way to hide the world stakes behind the slice of life stakes.
Yeah. Well, and that, I mean, because we are, no matter how empathetic we are or whatever else, we are still walking through life alone as individuals. We're seated in our own point of view. So the stakes are always about the world for any character that I write. They're about that character's world.
Yeah.
Right. You don't have to go the whole world, and, you know, but you do have to focus on something that's going to be high stakes, but it's always going to be high stakes, whether it's, I'm trying to find the mate that I want, whether it's, you know, I want to get the best burrito ever. Those stakes are still, to that individual, they're important, right? So trying to do anything else is probably unnecessary, so long as you can make the journey exciting enough that people want to read your stuff.
Yeah. Well, Haley, now that I've stolen all of your questions that you wrote down earlier and used them on Griffin, do you have anything else that you have for our guests?
I think we covered most of our bases. You did steal all of my questions, so.
Mm-hmm.
But also a couple of them like dovetailed really nicely. We didn't actually have to ask them all because
Because I talk too much?
Griffin knew what he was about, and he anticipated us.
Well, thank you.
No, Griffin, it wasn't being talking too much. It was you being smart and clever and knowing exactly what we were going to ask, Megamind style. There's my one ball joke for the episode.
I saw that coming.
There it is. Set me up for it.
Yep.
Well, Griffin, do you have anything else for our listeners about world building that you want to get across? I know we've covered kind of a broad swath.
Yeah, the only thing is that, like, I would say is learn a little bit about ecology and what it is that, how creatures fit into their ecology, because that will inform a lot of what's going on. Like, I can't remember her name, but there was an excellent series that had humanity had gone to the stars and everything, and we were using dolphins on other planets and stuff, and that was really cool to me because their dolphins' three-dimensional thought processes and stuff like that. When the atmosphere is liquid, that kind of thing. It's really cool. Like, so the ecology will inform how a species thinks. What their origin is will inform how they speak and how they think and how they, like you were saying, Shady, when you were talking about, it was difficult to not write it in earther context, right? So, but knowing that and being able to kind of work through it. And, one of the funnest things I've ever done is I don't bother to explain some stuff. Don't bother to when you're dealing with an alien race, because that makes it more alien to the reader, right? So long as you're not doing all of it like that, it is difficult when it's a POV character. But when it's not a POV character, don't explain it, because that gives you the mystery aspect. Life is a mystery generally to most people. Some people more than others. But it allows you to work through that. Study a little bit of ecology, try and internalize those lessons that this is why these creatures behave the way they do. And then you can extrapolate that to other things, to your alien races, to your fantasy races, etc.
Yeah. No, it's good advice from the one and only Griffin Barber.
Thank God, one and only. Jeez,
the one and only. Thank God for the rest of the human race.
Yeah, I can't have two of those guys running around. The bald optimist will be too much.
We'll keep you.
That's not even where I was going to take that, but that works too.
Yep. I figured I'd get in there first and head you off at the pass.
There you go.
Head you off at the pass.
No, yeah. I can make a Conehead joke now too.
Yep.
There it is. I went an hour 20. You should be proud of me.
Yep.
No. No, what I was gonna there was kind of a final point in there that I was gonna make about that, but now I've lost the train of it because there were too many ball jokes in between.
I've got one.
Go ahead.
I'll take it away. I loved, Griffin, what you said about not explaining some things. Just a couple of weeks ago, we were actually guests on another podcast about world building and worldcraft. Mm-hmm. And one of the points that their host made was talking about how one of the things that makes world building so cool is you get like this sense of wonder. Yep. And you can foster a childlike sense of wonder almost. And they were talking about some of the things that they've enjoyed in books or movies that aren't necessarily explained, that makes you, like, as a consumer, or as a visitant is the term that they use. So someone who's visiting that world, you're reading or playing the game or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. It ticks up your curiosity and you don't necessarily get the answers, but that's okay. And I love those kinds of little moments and things. Yeah. And so I think that that's something that should be, or I would like to see included more often, because not everything needs an answer. Yeah.
And you have to be careful about it. But one of the coolest things about that is that that's how you find your really astute readers. Because they're the ones who come up to you afterwards and goes, I was really wondering where you were going with this. What does that mean? I'm like, well, what does that mean? You can know what it's under the hood for you, but somebody else may take that and interpret it entirely differently, especially somebody who's probably better educated in that field than you are. So ecology or whatever it may be, they're going to go like, they will take it a different route, but that's fine. That's what art's about, right? It's especially our medium, the writing is the mindscape. They're going to have it. They're going to do what they're going to do with it. It's out of your hands.
Well, and I love that artistic view of it, but I'm gonna make a quick callback to the episode we did with Katie Cross, where it was like, you sometimes, like, the practicality of it is you can't plan for every contingency. You can't, like, you kind of like what you said earlier, right? Not everything is solved. We don't know everything about life on our planet, let alone like out in some fantasy world.
Yep.
And so it's nice to have those openings. And if eventually you got to go back and solve it, sure, but you don't have to have the answer for it right now. Maybe you'll find a better answer down the road.
Yeah. Well, and especially this is also feeds back into the size of your problem. If it's a world ending thing, now if you go back and now we have to resolve this, is this going to be a whole nother world ending thing? Or is this going to be smaller, as opposed to if you have it at a smaller scale, like they're going to attack my village, they're going to attack my loved one. Now we have room to maneuver to kind of explain things further down the road, maybe explore those. Maybe it gets bigger. Maybe it gets to the country and that kind of thing. So yeah, totally think that's a thing that you need to work on. And again, it's also figuring out where to, keep it under the hood versus I have no idea, but I like where you're going with this, reader. I've known a couple of writers who've been like, yeah, after a conversation with a reader, I was like, yeah, that's the way I'm going to go. Like I didn't know. I just was trying to throw some lifelines to myself and I had no idea. And they figured it out by interacting with their readership. So don't have to have all the answers at all. If you do, you're probably an asshole, but
I'm an asshole without all the answers, so it doesn't matter. I should just do both. So you did remind me. I did actually have one more question for you.
Okay.
Because we talked a little bit about your dark fantasy that hasn't released.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy the concept of it, and I really enjoy the main character is the monster. But how do you keep that main character from becoming the villain of their own story?
It's okay to be the villain. Han Solo shot first. It's fair. Okay to be the villain. What's not okay is to lose your readers because your villain is so blech. Like, everybody wants that. Either guys want the bad boy reputation, gals want to date at some point in their lives or think about dating the bad boy. So long as you keep them interesting and fascinating, and you can show some of their struggles to not go all the way there, or the reasons for having gone all the way there. Because this is true for your villain, for your antagonist as well. You want to make sure that they're multidimensional because everybody has their own story. Not everything that is always was, right? And that's crucial. So yeah, with a villainous protagonist, you want to make sure that they're just interesting and there's enough hooks that goes into what they say and how they say it and what they do versus what they're thinking about what they do. Because we talked about that earlier, is we all have our internal monologue, which is different from what we're doing and what we're saying and what we're thinking. It's all, it gets multi-level very quickly. So yeah, you have to make sure that there's some redeeming thing about them, but it doesn't necessarily have to be visible in action, but in their thoughts and process. And, one of the things that's always, really good prose. And I'm not saying that this is what I'm doing, but really good prose. This is what Mark Lawrence was doing. Really good prose will drag you through some really ugly stuff. You'll be like, yeah, whoa, tackling child soldiers, all these kind of things are really hard things to tackle. But if it's beautifully written, I might be there for you. And readers are definitely looking for good reads, right? So I think you have to, you should be making that consideration for all your characters. but it's doubly important for a protagonist. So, and if you are going to be, your protagonist is going to be evil son of a bitch, their struggle. I did this with Maneater for Chuck Gannon's Lost Soldier universe. He's an asshole. And if he'd have stayed in Mogadishu, he'd have been arrested and flown back to the States and tried for crimes, for arms dealing, and some killings, in federal court in the States. But he ends up getting shot down. And instead of, he's constantly in conflict with himself of not being that guy. I finally got an opportunity, and everybody else is depressed. They lost loved ones. They lost their families, their kids. Everybody else is left behind in 1990s, United States or Africa or whatever. And this guy is like, I have a second chance. But he's not happy all the time, but he's happy about the fact that he's got a second chance. So yeah, finding that internal conflict and ways to illustrate it prettily, so that it draws people along with you and in a human fashion is super important.
Well, as much as, I love hearing you talk, and as much as I love talking to you, and I've been lucky and fortunate enough to be able to spend some time with you in person at different cons and stuff. We will not take up too much more of your time, but we will definitely endeavor to have you back on for some other episodes about some different subjects. If our audience is looking for you, for those who are also non-authors, but if other authors are looking for you, where are you at next? Where can people find you?
I go to LibertyCon every year. I go to DragonCon every year. I may start going to more cons as well, based on my new position. But those are the two that I'm definitely going to this upcoming year. I've already got hotel rooms for. I'm available online. I'm pretty approachable on Facebook and stuff. I don't have any books coming out this year. I'm going to be turning in the third Mughal cycle book for the 1632 series, the Ring of Fire book. I'll be turning that in this summer. Hopefully that'll come out next year. And I do read some slush, but don't send it directly to me. Send it to the usual channels at Baen, if you're going to be sending books in, because I don't have that kind of power. But you can also see me on the podcast on the Baen Free Radio Hour every once in a while. I will still continue to be hosting on that. I am going to be producing, so I'll be doing it about as often as I was before, but I'll be also in the end caps of it, talking about whatever book we're reading, and that kind of thing, or talking about the interview as well. So I'll continue to be there. They'll be hearing a lot more of my voice in future as well. So, but yeah, that's kind of it. I actually don't even have any short fiction I'm working on right now. Like, things are quiet, or relatively so.
For a minute.
Yeah, it sounds like you still have your hands full.
Well, yeah, this summer with the move and everything, I didn't go out pursuing anything, right? So
yeah,
that's fair. All right. Well, thank you, Griffin, for joining us. Thank you to the Worlds Asunder listeners for joining us as well. This is actually going to be another 3-parter. Look at that. I'm really enjoying the amount of work that we've got going on here. As always, like, comment, subscribe, share wherever you listen to this podcast. Definitely share the podcast. That's how we continue to be able to produce this thing and get you the new authors' advice from these awesome authors that we have here who've been doing it a while. And editor, yeah. And the new Baen editor and producer of his own podcast, as he's mentioned.
No, not mine. Baen's Free Radio.
Sorry, he is producing a company podcast, which is even bigger than me producing this one. So,
yeah. The other thing I'm working on is I got a couple of buddies. I'm a big gamer, tabletop role playing game guy, and trying to work on a live play tabletop role play podcast. We're playing Delta Green.
Ooh,
yeah. So,
and I didn't get an invite.
No, you didn't, not yet. But we are going to be inviting authors to come and play with us on occasion. So we'll be looking forward to that. It's called Project Archive, and the military vets that might listen to you will like the name of the company. It's BCG, the Basement Creative Group, but it's also BCG's. So,
Yep.
But that's another place that hopefully you'll be able to see me sometime this year, probably starting late spring.
Nice. That's pretty cool. Yeah, and for those of our listeners who want to go watch that, if you don't know what Delta Green is, it's a very kind of grim, dark RPG setting, very realistic. I've done a couple of runs through that, and Haley finally got to sit in on a session and listen to how bad that got. But
sort of. I was a little occupied.
It's funny because our shared co-author, Casey Azell, was the one who introduced it to our gaming group in Japan. So, yeah, definitely go check those out. We'll include the links in the show notes, like we always do, like Haley is always good at doing. And hopefully we will catch you next week with more world building here on Worlds Asunder. Thanks for stopping by. And there we are at the end of our run with Griffin Barber. Thanks once again to Griffin. I know it's been a while for us to get these episodes out. I'm glad you were able to join us when you were, and I hope everybody enjoyed it as much as we did. There's a lot of great quotes, a lot of great information that he shared with us. Not everything that is always was. All the world's a stage, so now you just need to fill it with shite players. I mean, take your pick. Tolkien was probably one of my lesser moments on the show, and I apologize to all of you Tolkien fans out there for that. Make sure to follow us via our links in the show notes. Next time on Worlds Asunder, we're going to do a rerun with Do You Believe in Magic Part 1, and we're going to rerun Clark Rowinson's episodes, since they were the first not to get video release. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And as always, thanks for helping us tear the worlds asunder. We'll see you next time.